Hey there everyone, I am Scott and I am a huge fan of the 1984 Dune movie, so I am so excited to talk about all things Dune Prophecy Episode 1. Here's what I'm going to do for each episode and each video that I shoot corresponding to that episode. First, I'm going to do a little bit of a rewind and a recap. I am not going to go scene by scene and go super in-depth. I'm talking like 90 seconds, 2.5 minutes max, just the highlights. I'm also going to do what's rad and what's bad about each episode. And because I am such a huge super fan of the 80s movie, I have to give you a little bit of a flashback nugget. It's more of an excuse for me to talk about Kyle MacLachlan and all of those 80s special effects that happened back then, but I think you'll enjoy the little flashbacks. And of course, I will rate the whole episode too, 1 to 5 sandworms, 5 sandworms being the absolute best. Let's start with the rewind and the recap. And again, this is not the kind of video where I'm going to go play by play, scene by scene, and explain exactly every single thing that happened. This is more of the kind of video you want to watch if you're just about to watch the next episode, or if you're even considering watching the first episode. So since this is episode 1, I thought it would be best to introduce you to who I believe the main players are and where I believe their storylines might be going. Let's just put it out there. This is yet another series that takes full advantage of a lot of time jumping, but I want to hone in on Valia Harkonnen. She is the Mother Superior of the Bene Gesserit. Now, we're very early on in the Sisterhood, which is kind of cool, but it is clear that Valia Harkonnen is large and in charge. She's manning a breeding program. She's training all of these young girls' minds and bodies to do all of the cool Bene Gesserit things. She is no joke. And for a good example of that, she had to kill one of her fellow sisters to get that gig as Mother Superior. Yikes. Now, we do get a little bit into Valia's backstory, but I believe her main storyline is connected to getting a princess to join the Sisterhood. That brings me to the second character we need to be paying attention to, and that is Princess Inez. She is also being set up to be quite a badass. She is the daughter of Emperor Carino, and Valia has arranged for her to marry this little 9-year-old prince or duke or mini emperor, whatever he is. But this match is set up so that the emperor can stay in control of Arrakis and the spice. So while this princess is waiting for her little boy fiance to grow up, she will be trained at the Sisterhood. So if you think about it, she's royalty, but she's also going to be a Bene Gesserit. And that means that one day a Bene Gesserit sister could end up on the throne. That is the working and thinking of our Mother Superior Valia, hard at work and thinking about all of these things. After her betrothal ceremony, she does what every princess does when they're not super psyched about their match. They hit the clubs. And that brings us to another important character. We don't see much of this character in episode 1, but it is my hunch, and probably yours as well, that we're going to be seeing a lot more of him and learning a lot more about him. He is the hunky Imperial swordsman, Kieran. And while they're at the club, he's at the club with the princess, they blow off some steam by getting it on, and you know what I mean. But while all that's going down, her little betrothed, the princess's little man, he's being murdered. I don't think I mentioned that this haughty swordsman is an Atreides. And this whole thing is happening 10,000 years before the birth of Paul Atreides. So here we are in episode 1, and we have an Atreides working for the princess and the emperor's family. I was really going to try and keep this recap at 3 characters and their storylines, but you gotta watch out for this Desmond Hart guy. He was supposedly eaten by a worm and survived. He appears to have some special powers. I'm not sure where his allegiance is, and he hates the Bene Gesserit. He is one to watch. Okay, we've got the recap and the rewind done, so now let's talk about what's rad about this episode and what's bad. What's rad is that this is the origin story of the Bene Gesserit, and I've always thought that they were super interesting. And we also get to see and hear the voice in action. And I think Valia might be the first to use the voice, or maybe she created the voice, and she uses it to knock off one of her sisters. What's bad? Well, I admit I got a little bored at some points, and I am not in love with any of the characters just yet. I am also really trying to get used to all this dang time jumping in some of my favorite series, like House of the Dragon. Still, as I'm watching that one, I'm like, wait a minute, how many years have passed and which character is which now? They look different? I mean, it drives me nuts. In Dune Prophecy, Episode 1, it's 10,000 years before Paul Atreides. It's 100 years after the Machine Wars. And then we're going to do another 30-year jump to make everybody old again. I am trying to keep myself in check because I realize it's the first episode and we need to do some setup. But I really hope that we stick to one time period for the rest of this series. Before I rate Episode 1, indulge me in a flashback to the 1984 movie. I was 11 years old when this movie came out, and I have been in full nerd mode for it for 40 years now. For this flashback, I think it's best to just acknowledge some of the awesome stars, kind of before they were stars, that were in this 1984 movie. Kyle MacLachlan as Paul Atreides. I mean, oh my gosh, he went on to do Twin Peaks, Sex and the City, Showgirls, so many iconic movies and television series. And by the way, I saw him do his own little recap of Episode 1, and it's amazing. Patrick Stewart from Star Trek The Next Generation. Sting was in this movie, and he was awesome. And of course, there's Sean Young from Blade Runner and lots of iconic 80s movies. So many awesome people and things in this movie. I could do so many flashbacks, but I will try not to nerd out too much. I hope you look forward to the flashback in the next video that we do, because I am loving them. It's time now to rate Dune Prophecy Episode 1, The Hidden Hand. 1 to 5 sandworms, 5 being the best. I'm going right down the middle. 3 sandworms. Yes, I am going to watch the next episode. But here's what I've got going on. I know I am totally late to the game on House of the Dragon, but I am watching that right now. I am also trying to catch up on The Penguin, and let's just be honest, we are in the holiday season, and I am knee-deep in Hallmark Christmas movies. So the next episode of Dune Prophecy really needs to suck me in, or I have a feeling this will be one of those series I just catch up on next summer when I'm bored. Thanks so much for watching this rewind and review. Feel free to stay right here on my channel with me and check out all of my other retro-inspired videos. You are always welcome in my time machine.